Hello there. I didn't actually expect to be going live straight away. I've been having a bit of a fight with my computer for about an hour or two trying to get to go live, hence the late hour for me. It's 1:30 now. I was going to do a good section of the book that I'm reading, but I know there's going to be Andromeda 7 on soon, Celestial Gateway, so I don't want to really conflict with you guys. So I'm just going to have a little half hour or so, 20 minutes. Hi Michelle, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Sorry, it's such short notice, guys. I've literally just managed to get my computer working. For some reason, couldn't connect to the microphone or the camera. I've got it figured out now, though. So yeah, basically, I was going to go live about midnight so I could finish chapter 2 of the 7th Ray. But I don't want to conflict with Andromeda 7, so I'm just going to do a little 20-minute and a little chat, okay? Won't keep you guys too long today. Oh, yeah, it's Thursday. Hey, Teresa. I thought it was Friday today because I'm off work tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll just keep going in. Thank you, Teresa. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for that, guys. I'm still thinking it was Friday. That's the only problem when you're living in the moment. I've lost track of days all the time. So, yeah, I can keep going in. I may come on again tomorrow. See what happens. I got the kids tomorrow, so maybe not. Right then. Okay, happy days. So I'll just keep going in. Right then. So we're on chapter 2 of the 7th Ray, Revealer of the New Age. Just want to point something out for the people who don't know me too well. Hi, Chloe. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I just want to point something out to anybody who doesn't know me too well. I have no religious views whatsoever. Never have, never will. So if I'm talking about Jesus Christ or God or anything like that, I'm not saying it with any religious connotations or dogma behind it. It's just that's what it says in the book, okay? Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to waffle too long because I think I've been waffling about half an hour before I actually get started on the book. Right. So basically, well, there goes my lighting. Let's try that again. Still learning. Yeah, so where were we? Right, we were on page 36, which is about halfway through chapter 2. It's a bit of a long chapter, so let's get into it. So we're on chapter 2, which is titled Transition from a 6th Ray to the 7th Ray cycle. Do we have somebody else in there? Try to acknowledge you all as you're coming in. Hi, Gaza. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Oh, before I do get started, I just want to do a little shout out to two people who I've been noticing quite a lot recently. I guarantee you guys know at least one of them. Hi, Scott. Good to see you. That is Ralph Smart on Infinite Waters. I suspect you all watch him, or most of you watch Ralph. I've left a link to his Facebook and his YouTube channel in my comments for this, or at least I hope I have. I certainly set it up. He does amazing content. He's been doing a lot of great videos for a very, very long time. He's also got a book out if you guys want to go check out Ralph Smart's book. That's really good as well. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Ralph Smart and all the good work that he does. And also Ian Dawkins. He was on Wayne's channel once or twice. Ian Dawkins is an amazing man, really amazing. Hi Ian, if you do end up seeing this, namaste brother. And I've left a link to his YouTube channel and also his Facebook account. He does most of his videos through Facebook. He uploads some of his stuff to SoundCloud as well, I believe, but amazing, really, really amazing. So go check those two guys out, okay? If you would like to help support them. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for confirming that for me. I've had such a hard time getting online. I can see how Robert has trouble sometimes. Just getting my software to work the way it should be working. But to be honest, I don't think it was the software. I think it was me just technical learning difficulties. So I think I got it set now, so it should be pretty straightforward from here on in. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get into the book. So we're on chapter 2. And we're about halfway through. As I've mentioned previously, it's not like a start to finish book. It's just loads of quotations from previous books, all to do with the 7th Ray. Okay, so you're not missing anything if you're kind of just jumping in now. Right, so we're on this quote here. Leaning curve, you got that right, Teresa. Right then, here we go. So this is from the writer of the book, the Tibetan Lama. Let's get his name right. Jual Cool. And we go straight into one point I would like here to bring to your attention, and that is that the two great groups. Let's turn this music off. That's not too good, is it? One point I would like here to bring to your attention, and that is music's coming up my laptop now. There. Here we go. Right. One point I would like here to bring to your attention, and that is the two great groups of divine agents, the Great White Brotherhood and the Lodge of the Materialistic Forces, are both of them seeking to divert these energies into channels which will further the ends for which they work and for which they were formed and exist. Therefore, I would ask you to remember that behind all the outer events are these two directed agencies you have as consequence. 1. Two groups of advanced minds, both groups equally illumined by the light of the intellect, and both of them formulating clearly their objectives, but differing in their direction and their emphasis. One group under the divine plan works for the form aspect entirely, and in this group the light of love and of selflessness is absent. The other group is working entirely with the soul or the consciousness aspect, and in this group the doctrine of the heart and the law of love control. In this connection, the two groups are working in opposition, therefore upon the mental plane. Number 2. The plans which embody these two differing ideals and objectives are next carried down onto the astral plane and thus into the world of desire. The lines of demarcation remain ever entirely clear as far as the workers in these two groups are concerned, but are not so clear where ordinary human beings and the world disciples and initiates are concerned. There is much chaos on the plane of desire, and the world, Arjuna, is today sitting in bewilderment between the two opposing forces or camps. Recognizing his relation both to form and to soul, and at the same time wondering where his duties lie, his point in evolution determines his problem. Thus, the two groups are working in opposition upon the plane of desire. Number 3. The materializing of the plans of these two groups of illumined minds proceeds steadily under the differing law of their being, the laws of form, life, and the laws of spiritual living. In this initial stage, and whilst the battle is being fought out in the realm of desire, for that is where the major conflict is being waged, and all that is happening upon the physical plane is only a reflection of an inner conflict. The forces of these two groups, working with the energies of the 6th and 7th rays, have brought about in the field of physical living a state of complete cataclysm. The economic situation and the religious hatred are the two major instruments. This is a subject upon which you should do well to ponder. Consequently, you have two groups, two objectives, two great formulated ideas, two streams of active energy, and two rays predominantly in conflict, thus producing the differing ideologies. The result of this dualism is the external chaos, the differentiation of the two group ideals into many human experiments, and the resultant raging of the entire human family under many banners, which testify to the various viewpoints in the many fields of thought: political, religious, economic, social, educational, and philosophical. The result of all this conflict is, I would tell you, definitely good, and it demonstrates the steady achievement of the Great White Lodge. The consciousness of humanity has been definitely expanded, and the whole world of men at this time is thinking, This is a totally new phenomena and a fresh experience in the life of the human soul. The first result of all the turmoil has been to shift the focus of human attention onto the mental plane and thereby near the sources of light and love. It is right here and in connection with this eventful change of focus that the world disciples can shoulder responsibility and proceed to active work. When I here speak of disciples, I am using the term in connection with all who aspire to true humanity, to brotherhood, and to the living expression of the higher and spiritual values. I'm not using it altogether in the technical sense, excuse me, which involves a recognized relation to the hierarchy through the grades of probationary or accepted discipleship, though through these are included in my thoughts. I refer to all aspirants and to all who have any sense of true value and an urge to meet the world's need. To understand a little the problem involved and the differing modes of work which characterize those who worked in the past under the influence of the sixth ray and those who are learning to work under the influence of the incoming seventh ray. It might be helpful if we comprehend very briefly that the two systems of activity. I would ask you to remember that both systems and modes of work are equally right in their time and place, but that the modern disciple should be discarding the old methods and steadily learning to employ the new and more modern and effective modes of work. This he must learn to do optimistically and with assurance, knowing that the benefits and the experience gained under the sixth ray system of discipline is still his most precious possession, because it has been transmuted from method and mode into characteristics and established habits. It is the new ray's way of working and new forces and objectives which the disciple of the present era has to master. He must do this relying upon the lessons learned in the past and must base his new structure of truth upon the foundation and the stabilized orientations which must now be established. The first step for the sincere aspirant is at this point to stop for a moment to inquire and discover whether he is working preliminarily under the sixth ray impulse or the seventh ray influence. I use the words impulse and influence deliberately because they describe the general effect of the two functioning energies. Upon one thing all disciples and aspirants can rely, and this is the basic and enduring effect of all the six ray potencies which have been established during the past 2,000 years. These must be counted upon, offset and understood, and the newer influence must then be studied. The newer methods investigating and mastered, and the new ideas and idealisms must be brought through into objectivity and so expressed in a new way. Only thus can the new civilization and culture be wisely and sanely produced and the foundations laid for the development of the human family along right lines during the coming era. It will be of value, therefore, to compare the old and the new ways of discipline and the training of attribute and quality and of method and objective. Let us take the six ray methods of activity and its major characteristics for all. First of all, there are, for us, the most familiar and can be rapidly considered enabling us to pass on to the new ways of demonstrating and discovering the ancient wisdom, and to the comprehension of the fresh modes of working, which will give new vitality to the work of the hierarchy upon the physical plane. The outstanding characteristic of the disciple, and the aspirant under the old regime was devotion. The race had of necessity the race had of necessary to achieve a different and right orientation to the world of spiritual values, and hence the effort of the hierarchy during the past 20 centuries was to lay emphasis upon the realm of religious values. The world emphasis upon the realm of religious sorry, start again, that's my dyslexia, skipping lines. The world religions have held the center of the stage for several thousand years. In an effort to make humanity seek one-pointedly for the soul and thus prepare itself for the emergence of the fifth kingdom in nature. This is slated, if I might use such a specialized word, to come into manifestation during the imminent Aquarian age. This age will predominantly, you tell I'm tired. This age will predominantly the age of worldwide discipleship, leading later to the age of universal initiation in Capricornian times. Therefore, the great world religions have held authoritative sway for a long time. Their peculiar tenets, adapted to a specific nation, race, or time, embodied some truth through the medium or of some particular teacher who attracted to himself individuals throughout the world who were spiritually minded because he expressed for them the highest goal towards which they could possibly strive. All the world religions have been thus built around an embodied idea who, in his own person, expressed the immediate ideal of the time and age. He demonstrated certain divine attributes and concepts which it was necessary to present to the vision of the sons of men at their possible and immediate goal. In these manifestations, as I have earlier pointed out, the sixth ray influence can easily be seen. When, however, an individual sixth ray influence can be noticed in an era wherein the sixth ray is uniquely active, then the reason for the potency of the religious idea, as expressed in theological dogma and doctrine, and the universal authority of the churches can be seen. Hello to everybody. Hi, Scotty. Excellent to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. Hi, Crystal. Thanks for coming. And thanks for the music. Okay, where are we? This orientation of man to the world of higher values has been the main objective of the Piscean age, which is ending now, and of the sixth ray influence, which is so rapidly passing out. Though there has never been a time when the basic orientation has not been going steadily forward, it is of value to bear in mind that during the past 2,000 years, a much higher, rarer, more difficult process of orientation has been held before the race, and for the following reason. The fourth kingdom in nature has been definitely attracted upwards towards the emerging fifth kingdom, and this has made necessary also the shift of attention away from the three worlds of human endeavor and expression into the higher world of soul consciousness. It has necessitated, likewise, the refocusing of the instructual and intellectual attention, which are the main factors in the unfoldment of divine awareness. This awareness can be instinctually, intellectually, and therefore human, and also spiritual. But all three are equally divine, which is a point often forgotten. The second objective of the sixth ray disciple, or of the man who is emerging out of the sixth ray influence, but is still conditioned by it, being a representative human being from the current evolutionary angle, has been the unfolding of the capacity for abstraction, as it has been called. The outstanding quality of our day and period as a result of transmuting human quality and character in the thought in and through its disciples has been the expression of the idealistic nature of man, or of his intellectual response to the higher intuitional values. In the past, highly developed but rare people have here and there demonstrated this power to abstract the consciousness from the material or form side of life and to focus it upon the ideal and upon the formless expression of living truth. Today, whole masses of people and entire nations are regimented to certain forms of idealism and can and do appreciate ideas formulated into ideals. Thus again, the success of the evolutionary process can be seen, and the work of the hierarchy as it is endeavors to expand human consciousness can be demonstrated to be effective. Because of the potency of the sixth ray activity, owing to the long period wherein it has been expressing itself, the reaction of the average human being is one of an intense devotion to his own particular ideal, plus the effort fanatically to impose his idealistic dream, for that is all it potentially is, upon his fellow men, and to do so in such a form that, unfortunately, the original idea is lost. The primal ideal is destroyed, and the devotee becomes much more occupied by the method of applying his ideal than by the ideal itself. Thus, under the idea is lost in the ideal, and the ideal in its turn in the method of its application. Does that make sense? The man becomes the devotee of an ideal which may or may not be embodied in an individual expression. This controls his thoughts, foreordains his activities, and leads him frequently to merciless excess in the interest of his peculiar and formulated idea. Under the immediate expression of the sixth ray, the divine principle of desire has shifted potentially away from the desire for material form into the realm of higher desire. Through materialism is still rampant, there are few people who are not animated by certain definite idealistic apparitions for which they are ready, when needed, to make sacrifices. This is a relatively new phenomenon, and one that should be carefully noted. Down the ages, great sons of God have ever been ready to die for an idea. Today, whole masses of men are equally ready to have done so, whether it is the idea of a superhuman state, empire or nation, or some response to a major world need, or some potent adherence to some current ideology. This indicates... Hi Laurie, good to see you. Thank you for coming. This indicates phenomenal racial achievement and the pronounced success of the hierarchy to shift human attention into the world from whence ideas emerge and onto the higher and the less material values. The instinct which has characterized the passing six-ray period and which has been noticeably forced under the influence is that of taste. Taste in food, in human intercourse, in color, in form, in art, in architecture, and all branches of human knowledge. The discriminating taste has reached a relatively high stage of development during the past 2,000 years, and good taste is a highly cherished mass virtue and objective today. This is a totally new thing, and one which has been hitherto the prerogative of the highly cultured few. Ponder on this. It connotes evolutionary achievement for the disciples of the world this sense of taste has to be transmuted into a higher correspondence, a discriminating sense of values. Hence, the clear emphasis laid in all textbooks on discipleship upon the need to develop discrimination. Desire, taste, discrimination, these are the values under the sixth ray for all evolutionary unfoldment and peculiarly the goal of all disciples. The methods whereby the activity of the sixth ray and its objectives have been imposed upon the race of three in number. Number one, the development of instinct. This is followed by intelligently recognized desire, and thus there is a steady expansion of requirements of relation and then of reorientation. Number two, the consequent stimulation of the human consciousness towards expansion, leading finally to the spiritual aspiration. And number three, the reflection of reality in the mind consciousness follows next, and this is sensed, demanded, and sought through the medium of group work. My penguin, anything important? Nope. The apparatus of the human being, which is the mechanism whereby the soul contacts the three worlds, which would be otherwise under the present plan sealed and hidden to the experience and experiment of the soul, has been more acutely sensitized and developed during the past 2,000 years than in any previous period of 10,000 years. The reason for this is that the mind of man has been consciously aiding in the process of coordinating the instincts and transmuting instinctual reaction, translating it into intelligent perception. In the case of the world disciples, this process has been carried forward into the next stage of unfoldment, to which we give the name of intuition and knowledge. The counterparts of the five senses and their higher correspondences upon the subtler planes are being rapidly unfolded, organized and reorganized, and in it by means of these inner senses that spiritual discovery becomes possible, as well as the more familiar psychic discoveries in three phases: A, instinct to aspiration; B, stimulation of divine desire; and C, the reflection of reality. You have the history of the activity of the sixth ray and its relation during the past few centuries to its major field of expression, the astral plane. We can now proceed to consider the seventh ray in its relation to the present situation in just the same way as we considered the sixth ray. Though doing this, there will unfold in your consciousness an idea of the developing process and the emerging events and the imminent happenings which may logically be expected. There are, as you may realize, two ways in which any particular ray may be considered. It can be studied, first of all, from the angle of energy, which is ever coming into relation with other energies and forces, producing through their meeting and frequent conflict a situation entirely different and changed from that which existed prior to the contact. The stages of this import might be covered briefly by the following words: contact, conflict, adjustment, equilibrium. A form of stalemate or static condition such as was arrived at during the 19th century, absorption, and the final disappearance of the weaker outgoing energy. The conclusion is always inevitable, for it is not the rays themselves which are in conflict, but the substance and the forms which are implicated during the period. Secondly, the quality of the ray can be considered. This is in reality the expression of its soul and intrinsic nature, which impeding upon the condition existing in the ray comes into manifestation definitely does three things. Number one, changes the nature of the civilization and the culture of humanity in any given period. It is this force which the hierarchy utilizes when any meeting of the ray energies takes place. The culture is first changed because all basic quality changes work ever from above downwards, and it is the intelligentsia who are first sensitive to the incoming differences. Form changes then automatically reverse the process. It is thus that the points of juncture inevitably occur throughout the evolutionary process. When the scientists concerned with the theory and process of evolution accept the study of ray procedure, definite changes in the attitude of a closer approach to the truth will at once appear. The concept also lies behind the teaching which I have given anent the great approaches which must take place, and can take place very shortly, between the fourth and the fifth kingdoms in nature. Of the fifth kingdom, the hierarchy is the dynamic and living nucleus. Number two, changes in the other kingdoms in nature producing a different quality in a manifestation of the soul of any kingdom, for they all differ in soul quality, and consequently changes in the form aspect as well. Hi Delaney, good to see you, love. Thanks for joining me. Oracle's in the house. Anybody who doesn't know, Delaney Phil Jones is the Oracle from the Matrix. He knows what I mean. Everybody okay in there? Thank you all for joining me. I know it's a bit of a heavy book to get your head round. Any questions, do feel free to ask, okay? Okay, so we're on number 3. Changes in the type of egos or souls which will take incarnation during any particular ray period. But this, I mean, that just as during the age which is now coming to an end, the bulk of the incarnating souls were predominantly 6th ray in quality, so we can look for an increasing number of 7th ray egos now to appear. The furtherance of the coming 7th ray civilization of synthesis, fusion, and of increased soul expression, and the development of the new stage into which the white magic of the hierarchy is entering, is therefore inevitable, and for this stage there should be definite preparation and training. The powers of the magical age are many, and one of the reasons why the 7th ray is now making its appearance is that, owing to the rapid perfecting and integration of the human personalities, the higher integration between the soul and personality is today more possible and more easily accomplished than ever before. The new forms through which that much desired communication can be effected must be consequently gradually and scientifically developed. This, as you may well conceive, will be achieved through the intensification of the forces, functioning through the etheric body, through the coordination of the 7 major centuries, and the establishing of their rhythmic relationship. The 7th ray governs predominantly upon the etheric levels of the physical plane. It does not govern the dense physical form which is under the control of the 3rd ray. It is the vital and etheric body which is responsive to and developed by the incoming 7th ray influences. Which is why so many people are waking up, I guess, because they're all receiving the signal from the 7th ray on the etheric body, which is manifesting through to the physical body. In considering the methods whereby the seventh ray purposes are achieved, I would like to point out that it is in this part of our discussion that I am limited and handicapped by language, which is fair enough, because that's the knowledge that you gain through meditation and things like that. You can't teach that, you can only know it. Because we are dealing with that which is new and therefore not as yet be truly comprehended, and with those developments which will be eventually brought about by means of a true and scientific magic, this new magic will have no more relation to the crude attempts of oft ridiculous undertakings of the magicians, alchemists, and performers of the past than cat has to an algebraical formula. I will remind you also that in home of ancient magic, which you call Egypt, the magical work there performed was definitely concentrated upon the producing of physical effects and material results, and that the focus of the attention of the magician of the day can be seen in the stupendous production of those ancient and gigantic forms, standing silent and still in their pristine magnificence, which today call for the attention of archaeologists and travellers. The forms of lesser magic which they produce were dedicated to the magical protection of the physical form and allied matters. In later days, we have the appearance of alchemy in its many forms, plus its search for the philosopher's stone, and the teaching as to three basic mineral elements. They were driven esoterically and from the subjective side of life to search for that which could unify the three lower physical levels. This is in its nature deeply symbolic of racial unfoldment. These levels symbolize the integrated man, physical, astral, and mental. When to these elements the philosopher's stone is added and has done its magical work, then you have the symbolic representation of the control by the soul of the four higher levels of the physical plane, the etheric or energy levels of the desirable consummation. The philosopher's stone is the emblem. I said emblem and did not say symbol. The symbol is an outer and visual sign of an inner and spiritual reality carried out into expression upon the physical plane by the forces of the inner embodied life. The emblem is man's formulation of a concept created by man and embodying for him the truth as he sees it and understands it. A symbol is ever greater in its implications than is an emblem. God bless you, Laurie. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hi, Hi, Brian. Thank you for joining me. Good to see you. Thank you for coming along. Hi, Mary. So good to see you. Glad you could see the purple in my picture earlier. How we go? Still got quite a way to go on this. I'll come back to you guys in a moment. Hi, Red Honey 9. Glad to see you. Thank you for joining us. Completely lost my spot now. Emblems and symbols. Right. Symbol. There we go. So good to see everybody here. Thank you for joining me, and thank you very much for the donation. Gratefully, very grateful. Okay, the etheric levels are also the field of expression for the soul, whether it is the human soul or the soul as an expression of the higher triad, the monadic life. I wonder whether any of you have the faintest idea what will happen to humanity when the inner subjective reality functioning through the etheric body and pouring its force unimpeded through the centers of the body will have made its major controlling integration with the dense physical apparatus, reducing it to complete submission as a result of the higher integrated communicated between soul and personality. What's the problem? Personality. We are therefore at most integrating and crucial period in racial and planetary history, a period unlike any which has preceded it, and for the reason that the evolutionary process has been definitely successful in spite of all failures, mistakes and delays of these latter. There have been many owing to the refusal, curious and difficult to understand in your eyes, of the energies concentrated at Shambhala to impose the forces of will on no matter and on form until such time as this can be done with the cooperation of the human family. Thus, has never been possible hitherto owing to the unpreparedness of man for the task and his ignorance as to the plan. The Lord of Shambhala and his helpers have had to wait until the dim outlines of the plan had penetrated through into the consciousness of the race. This is beginning to happen with increasing frequency and form. Day to day, more and more intelligent men and women are coming or are being brought into touch with the emerging ideas of the hierarchy. We can look therefore for the steady appearance gradually and cautiously applied of the will energy of the highest center, Shambhala, which is to be found upon our planet. This center corresponds to the monadic center, which makes its power felt in the consciousness of the disciple who is ready for the third initiation. Once the second initiation has been taken, the watching hierarchy can begin to notice the constant reorientation of the soul towards the monad and the attractive power of that highest aspect over the initiate. Today, so many members of the human family are in incarnation or out of incarnation have taken the first two initiations that the attention of Shambhala is being increasingly turned to humanity via the hierarchy, while simultaneously the thoughts of men are being turned to the plan. To the use of the will in direction and guidance, and to the nature of dynamic forces, the quality, for instance, of the explosive and dynamic nature of war in this century is indicative of this. For the will energy in one of its aspects is an expression of death and destruction. The first ray is the ray of the destroyer. What can therefore be seen occurring in this effect of the Shambhala forces upon the forms in nature, due to the misuse of the incoming energy by man. War in the past, speaking generally and esoterically, has been based consistently upon the attractive power of possessions, and this has led to the aggressive and grasping character of the motives which have led to war. Gradually, there has been a change coming about, and war has lately been founded upon somewhat higher motives, and the acquisition of more land and territorial possessions has not been the true and the main motive. War has been prompted by economic necessity, or it has been in the nature of the imposition of the will of some nation or group of nations and their desire to impose some ideology or other upon some nation, or to rid itself of a worn-out system of thought, of government, of religious dogma, which is holding back racial development. This is the beginning being now consciously done and is an expression of Shambhala, or will force, and is not so definitely an desire force of the past. The seventh ray is one of the direct lines along which the first ray energy can travel, and here again is another reason for its appearance at this time, because in the releasing of the life into the new and improved forms, the old ways of living, of culture, and of civilization have to be destroyed or modified. This is all of it, the work of the first ray of will expressing itself predominantly at this present time through the seventh ray of organization and relationship. When we studied the sixth ray, we considered first of all the effect of the ray upon the work and training, the life and the plan of the disciple, conditioning as it inevitably sorry guys, I'm getting tired now. Conditioning as it inevitably must his activities and life output. Then we considered the motivating principle of desire in this connection and finally touched upon the three modes of the prevalent ray activity. Let us follow the same procedure now, thus gaining some idea of the relationship between the sixth and the seventh rays, and the manner in which the potency of the sixth ray has prepared humanity for the imminent happenings with which it is faced. What I have now to say will not be followed with ease or with due appreciation by the sixth ray disciple, because the methods employed by those who are handling the directing the new energies are not comprehensible by him. That makes sense. Grounding as he is in the methods of the past, hence the appearance of fundamentalist schools found in every field of thought, religious, political, and even scientific. Again, when the sixth ray disciple attempts to use the new incoming energies, they express themselves for him upon the astral plane, and the result is astral magic, deepened glamour, and pronounced deception. To this fact must be ascribed today the appearance of teachers claiming to teach magic, to bring about certain magical results, to work with rays of differing colors, and to utilize words of power, or pronounce decrees, and to be repositories of the hierarchy, hitherto unrevealed wishes and secrets of the masters of the wisdom. It is all a form of astral glamour, and the contacting upon the astral plane, and that which will later precipitate upon earth. But the time is not yet, and the hour for such usages has not arrived. The sense of time and the understanding of the correct hour for the carrying out of the plan in its future detail has not been learnt by these sincere but deluded people, and focused as they are upon the astral plane and undeveloped as they are mentally, they misinterpreted to themselves and for others to which they are physically sense. They know far too little and yet believe that they know much. They speak with authority, but it is the authority of the unexpanded mind, the expression of old magical patterns, the digging up of hints and indoctrinations of crystallized and worn out methods from the ancient past is all too prevalent at this time, and was responsible for much deception of the masses and consequent mass delusion. Right, that's the end of that quote. That was a long one, wasn't it? I'll get started on the next one. How much more have we got left to do? Just checking because my eyes are getting very tired now. 20 past. 20 past 2. That went quick. Time did sure fly by. How's everybody doing? We all okay in there? I missed anybody? Calcify, hi there. Great to see you. Hi, Callum. Oh, Callum, great. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. You're up late as well. It's one of my friends from work, I think. Thank you, Chloe, as always. Hey, Al, you made it. Sorry, Al, I didn't send you a link. I pressed the button and it just went live. I was supposed to send my friend Al a link to the show before I went live, but it just went live. I'll sip of my drink a minute before we go on to the next quote. That's great, Callum. Thank you for joining me. Lovely to have your support. Cheers, mate. Right then, on to the next quote from the book, which is going to be another long one. Some of these quotes, as I've explained, if anybody's seen the me reading from the book before, the book's basically, I'll show you, is full of quotations from different books that they wrote. Some of them, a couple of lines. That one, as you heard, was a couple of pages and really heavy. So the next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that's the rest of the chapter. Another 10 pages, okay? So it's going to be another long one. And then I'll call it a day then after that, because then we'll be on to chapter 3, which is a really interesting looking one. In case any of you, before I go on to the next one again, before I mention it, in case any of you missed it at the beginning, I was just giving a shout out to 2 channels that I've been really loving lately, and that's Ralph Smart on Infinite Waters on YouTube. I posted a link to him on his Facebook page and his YouTube channel in my descriptions, and also a gentleman by the name of Ian Dawkins. Hugely enlightening people, lots and lots of great content, so go check them out, okay? Go and support them as well, thank you. Right then, here we go. Excuse me. In this comparative, even, is that right? I've got my teeth in today. In this comparative, even if inadequate, study of the old and the new types of discipleship, one of the problems facing the hierarchy is how to bring about the necessary changes in technique and method of development which the 7th ray type will require, and yet at the same time so condition these changes that there can be smooth process of adjustment and interplay between the hierarchy and of the world aspirants. This adjustment must include the 2 groups, one at present large and the other still small, of 6th and 7th ray disciples. The problems of the hierarchy are, of course, no real concern of those who have not achieved liberation and cannot therefore look at life through the eyes of those who are no longer held by the forces of the 3 worlds. But it might serve a useful purpose if disciples occasionally give some thought to the relation as it exists upon the master's side and give less thought of their own individual and peculiar difficulties. One of the major characteristics of the 6th ray disciple is his intense practicality. He works upon the physical plane with a constant and steady objective in order to bring about results which will be effective in determining the forms of the coming culture and civilization. Towards the end of the 7th ray cycle, he will work equally hard to perpetuate what he has brought about. He wields force in order to build the forms which will meet his requirements, and does this more scientifically than do disciples of the other rays. The 6th ray devotee is far more abstract and mystical in his work, and thought, and seldom has any real understanding of the right relation between form and energy. He thinks almost entirely in terms of quality and pays little attention to the material side of life and the true significance of substance as it produces phenomena. He is apt to regard matters as evil in nature and form as a limitation, and only lays the emphasis upon the soul consciousness as of true importance. It is this failure to work intelligently, and I would like to add lovingly, with substance, and so bring into the right relation with the dense outer form, that has made the last 2,000 years produce so disastrously a mismanaged world. I think we can all agree with that. A mismanaged world, and which has brought the population of the planet into its present situation, into its present serious condition. The unintelligent work upon the physical plane, carried forward by those influenced by the sixth ray force, has led to a world which is suffering from cleavage in as true a sense as an individual person can suffer from a split personality. The lines of demarcation between science and religion are a striking instance of this, and have been clearly and forcibly drawn. The cleavage to which I refer has been drawn by the churchmen of the past and by no one else. The lines have been determined by the mystics, impractical and visionary, and by the fanatical devotees of some idea, who were nevertheless unable to see the broad implications of the universal nature of these recognized ideas. I am generalizing. There have been many devoted and holy sons of God who have never been guilty of the above stupidities and separative tendencies. At the same time as we recognize this, we must also recognize that Orthodox religion has temporarily separated the two great concepts of spirit and matter in their thought and teaching, thereby pushing apart religion and science. Hi, Elderberry. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. Anybody else name? Good to see you. Recognizing ideas. I am generalizing. There have been many devoted and holy sons of God who have never been guilty of the above stupidities and separative tendencies. At the same time as we recognize this, we must also recognize that Orthodox religion has temporarily separated the two great concepts of spirit and matter in their thought and teaching, thereby pushing apart religion and science. The task of the New Age workers is to bring these two apparent opposites together, to demonstrate the spirit and matter are not antagonistic to each other, and that throughout the universe there is only spiritual substance working on and producing the outer tangible forms. When a form and activity is what you call evil, it is only so because the motivating energies behind the form and responsible for the activity is wrongly orientated, selfishly impulsed, and incorrectly used. Here again, two basic truisms of modern occultism. There are others which will be imparted when these two are mastered and rightly applied are of importance. Number one, energy follows thought. Sure does. Right motive creates right action and right forms. These two statements are very ancient origin, but are as yet but little understood. Hence, the first thing which every disciple has to learn is the nature, control, and direction of energy. He does this by working with initiating causes, by learning the nature of the realm and cause, and by developing the capacity to get behind the effect to the cause which generated or produced it. In the case of the individual disciple, and in the preliminary stage of his training, this involves the constant investigation of his motives until he has discovered what they are and has so directed his thought that those motives can in every case be depended upon to work automatically and dynamically under soul direction. The six-ray disciple, in the majority of cases, carries his work down as far as the astral plane, and there lies the focus of his attention, his life, and his thought. Automatically and of necessity, his physical nature responds to the impulse sent from the astral plane, motivated from the mental and at times directed by the soul. But the potency of this desire and his determination to see the fruit of his labor has produced much difficulty in the past by arresting the true expression of the originating impulse. It is arrested upon the astral plane. This has been balanced by the cycle intervention of other ray forces, or otherwise the situation would be much worse than it is. The seventh ray disciple will bring the energy which he is wielding right down onto the physical plane, thereby producing integration, and the dualism which characterizes it will be that of a center of energy upon the mental plane, and once upon the physical plane. The dualism of the sixth ray worker is that of the pairs of opposites upon the astral plane. It will be apparent, therefore, that having established the 2 points of energy, mental and physical, the next task is to work in magic, will be to produce a synthesis upon the physical plane of the available energies, to concentrate them and invest that which has been considered with the potency of activity and persistence. The energy thus employed will, in the majority of cases, be the three kinds. Sort my eyes out a second. I don't usually wear glasses, although they do help with reading. I am getting on a bit now. Well, my eyes are anyway. A bit better. You all okay? Okay, three kinds. Number one, the energy of the mind. This will be the dominant controlling energy used during the period of accepted discipleship and until the second initiation. Number two, the energy of the soul. This will be wielded, used, and creatively employed from the second until the third initiation. Number three, the energy of soul and mind blended and synthesized. This combination is of tremendous potency. After the fourth initiation, this will be augmented by energy coming from the monad. I would have you bear in mind that through all aspects, I would have you bear in mind that through all is energy, yet at the same time, in correct esoteric teaching, the higher impulsive activity is called energy, and that which is conditioned by and swept into activity through its agency is called force. The terms are therefore relative and movable. For the bulk of humanity, for instance, astral impulse is the highest energy to which they normally aspire, and the forces upon which astral energy plays will then be the etheric and physical forces. Higher energies may intermittently control, but as general rule of life, incentive or impulse is astral, and this can either be called desire or aspiration according to the objective. The latter may simply be mental ambition or desire for power, and the term aspiration should not be confined only to so-called religious impulses, mystical longings, and the demand for liberation. The seventh ray disciple works consciously by means of certain laws, which are the laws governing form and its relation to spirit or life. In a treatise on cosmic fire, I gave you the three major laws of the solar system and the seven subsidiary laws through which these three express themselves. I gave you also indications as to the laws which govern group work. You must remember that the disciples upon different rays will wield these laws according to the quality of their ray impulses. I am handicapped here for words which are appropriate. Interpreting them in terms of their specific life obligation or dharma, and producing the desired results through the medium of differing ray technique, conforming always, however, to the inevitability of the results wrought by the energies which they have released to play upon forces under the laws of their being. The sixth ray disciple, working with the laws of nature and of the soul, will qualify his results and produce his creative forms upon the astral plane. He has consequently to learn forms upon the astral plane. I'm doing this all the time now. Sorry, with my form of dyslexia, I quite often skip lines, which is why I've got to keep my finger on it and keep moving. His results produces his creative forms upon the astral plane. He has consequently to learn frequently to work through a seventh ray personality for several lives, either before or after achieving disciplineship. Before, he will be able to bring through onto the physical plane his dream and his vision. The seventh ray disciple has no such problem. By his knowledge of ritual, which is the ancient codified means whereby the attractive and expressive nature of the energies to be employed are organized and related. By his understanding of the words of power, which he discovered by experiment, and by using the potency of sound, the disciple of the future will work and build with new world with its culture and civilization. A curious indication of the effect of the seventh ray magical work upon the mass consciousness is the growing use of slogans or of catchphrases. Is that not the term used, which are employed to bring about results and to sweep human beings into certain forms of mass action? This is the embryonic use of the words of power, and from a study of their tonal value, their numerological indications, and their inherent potency, men will eventually arrive at vast magical achievements and creations, producing group activity and the appearance of certain forms of expression upon their outer plane. After all, scientific formulas have reduced the most intricate and abstruse discoveries to the few signs and symbols. The next step is to embody these signs and symbols into words, thus imparting to them what is esoterically called the power of embodiment. If I might express it this way, the ancient statement that God spoke and the words were made simply means that God's formula for creation was reduced to a great word which he sounded forth, and the inevitable results followed. Something of this process on a tiny human scale will be seen happening in the coming age. At present, what I have said above may sound fanciful and fantastic to the average student. Before I carry on with that bit, I got a good idea of what that is actually referring to. With sound, light, energy, you can have one sound, one light, one energy, but within that is a carrier wave. So if you study waves of any sort within energy, frequency thing, you'll have the one wave, but within that wave, if you move it apart, you've got many, many different waves. Yeah. So you can have, like with the light, you've got white light, but within that white light are many different other lights. So that is what I believe he's referring to there. So you could make one tone, and within that tone is the information for a universe. Hi, Raven Keeper. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Very good to see you. It will be obvious to you that the seventh ray disciples wield much power, and for this reason the emphasis in all teaching given to them is laid upon purity of motive. In the past, the emphasis has been laid upon purity of body. In the case of the sixth ray disciples, as was inevitable, they have carried the idea to a fanatical extent and have stressed celibacy, asceticism, and stringent rules of physical life, oft making sinful that which is natural. This has been a necessary stage in their development, for it was essential that the physical plane should become a greater factor in their consciousness, and that their attention should be turned from the realm of abstraction, which is their line of least resistance, and focused upon physical living. For again, energy follows through. Thus, their attitude to life could become more practical and the necessary integration take place. Disciples in the New Age will lay the emphasis upon the mental principle because it conditions thought and speech. All magical work is based upon the energy of thought and of the spoken word. The expression of the two magical centers referred to above, and purity in the realm of mind and motive is regarded consequently as a basic essential. The seventh ray influences is that which will produce in a peculiar and unexpected sense the Western school of occultism, just as the sixth ray impulse has reduced the Eastern school of occultism, the latter bringing the light down onto the astral plane and the new incoming influence carrying it down onto the physical. The Eastern teaching affected Christianity and indicated that and determined the lines of its development, and Christianity is definitely a bridging religion. The roles will eventually be reversed, and the shift of the light in the East will be over Europe and America. This will inevitably bring about the needed and desired synthesis of the mystical way and the occult path. It will lead later to the formulation of the higher way, and this it is useless to speak of at this time, for you would not comprehend. None of the foundational and ancient rules of the road will ever be abrogated or discarded. Just as men used to travel on the ancient highways on foot, conforming to the requirement of their time and age, and today travel by rail or automobile, arriving at the same destination, so the same road will be followed, the same goal achieved, but there may be different procedures, varying safeguards, and changed protective measures. The rules may vary from time to time in order to provide easier indication and adequate protection. The training of the disciple in the future will differ in detail from that of the past, but the basic rules remain authoritative. What are we doing? Hour and a quarter. It's gone quick. Thank you guys for still being here. We're nearly done, okay? Thank you for hanging in there. We've only got about 4 pages left, okay? I've got to stop stopping in the middle. Safeguards and change many measures. The rules may vary from time to time. The keynote governing the development and the sixth ray disciple was expressed for him in the words of Christ when he said, if I be lifted up, will draw all men. The emphasis of all sixth ray work is attraction and repulsion, hence division and cleavage, producing eventual and realization of the necessity for a consciously undertaken synthesis and integration, mentally motivated and produced. The history of Christianity, which is the history of Europe, will stand illuminated in the law of attraction and repulsion, is studied in connection with its eventful past. The use and misuse of this law and its constant interpretations in terms of material desires, personal ambitions, and territorial control produced the many schisms and cleavages, and will account for much that has happened. Under the seventh ray influences, these cleavages will end and synthesis will eventually take place. Hi, Andrea James. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you all for being here. The keynote of the seventh ray disciple is radiatory activity. Right? Yeah. Hence the emergence in world through the certain new ideas, mental radiation or telepathy, and radiatory use of heat. The discovery of radium, all this connotes seventh ray activity. The divine principle with which the seventh ray humanity will be mainly concerned is that of life, as it expresses itself through the medium of the etheric body. It is for this reason that we find a growing interest in the nature of vitality. The function of the glands is being studied, and before long their major function as vitality generators will be noted. Esoterically, they are regarded as externalizations upon the physical plane of the force centers in the etheric body, and their aliveness or their lack of activity are indicative of the condition of those centers. The shift of the world interest is also into the realm of economics, which is definitely the realm of life sustenance. Much is therefore bound to happen in all these spheres of interaction, and once the etheric body becomes an established scientific fact, and the centers, major and minor, are recognized as the foci of all energy as it expresses itself through the human body upon the physical plane, we shall see a great revolution take place in medicine, in diet, and in the handling of daily life activity. This will produce great changes in the mode of work and labour above everything else in the leisure activities of the race. We'll just stop there for 1 second. I have a feeling on this one that that's why things like cathedrals and churches have the giant organs. And they're called organs because they used to be used as harmonic resonance frequencies. So you stand in a certain place within the building, they play certain frequencies through the keyboard, and that would have a direct effect on your organs. So if you had something that was misfunctioning, you go along, they play a certain tone, next thing you know, your liver's fine and healthy again, that kind of thing. Just a little side note there. Activities of the race. This thought brings to our attention the three methods of activity as employed by all the ray workers, and which differ for each ray. Those which will eventually control the seventh ray types will gradually bring about changed attitudes to life and very different methods of daily living. These three are: number one, group activity for the scientific relation of substance and energy. Number two, the stimulation of etheric forms through rightly directed force. Number three, the correct distribution through scientific study of vital energy. Basically describing what I was just saying. I knew you'd agree with me there, Teresa. Hi, Mad Cow Perkins. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Very grateful. We are entering a scientific age, but it will be a science which passes out of the impasse which it has now reached, of which having penetrated as it has into the realm of the intangible, will be to work far more subjectively than heretofore. It will recognize the existence of senses which are supersensory and which are extensions of the five physical senses. And this will be forced upon the science because of the multitude of reliable people who will possess them and who can work and live in the worlds of the tangible and the intangible simultaneously. I'm getting eaten alive here. I don't know if anybody can see any bugs flying around. I'm getting bitten all over the place. Then again. The masses of reputable testimony will provide incontrovertible the movement that the subjective world of cause is proven to exist, and this will come through the indisputable evidences of man's extended senses. Science will enter into a new era. Its focus of attention will change, the possibilities of discovery will be immense, and materialism, as that world is now understood, will vanish. Even the word materialism will become obsolete. Excellent. And men in the future will be amused at the limited vision of our modern world and wonder why we thought and felt as we did, which we were being told. I would have you bear in mind, in connection with the five rays which we have seen are influencing or beginning to influence humanity at this time, the first, second, third, sixth, and seventh rays, that their effect varies according to the ray types or ray qualities of the individual concerned and according to his position upon the ladder of evolution. Such points are often forgotten. If a man is, for instance, upon the second ray of love, wisdom, it may be expected that the influence of the ray and of the sixth, which is along the second ray line power, will be easily effective and will necessarily constitute the line of least resistance. This situation may therefore produce undue sensitivity and an unbalanced unfoldment of the characteristics. It is our characteristics which influence our conduct and our reactions to circumstance. It will mean also that the influence of the first, third, and seventh rays will be fundamentally unsettling and will call out resistance, or at the very least an attitude of non-receptivity. In the world today, the rays which are along the lines of energy, which is that of the first ray of will, of power, including the third and the seventh, are in the ratio of 3 to 2 as regards present manifestation, and therefore we can look for a fuller expression of the first ray attributes and happenings than would otherwise be the case. This will be particularly so because the sixth ray is fast going out of manifestation. All the above constitutes a piece of information which is of small value at this time. Its implications will become increasingly apparent as time goes on, and I am therefore including them in my teachings. And that's the end of chapter 2. My page noggin. Right, chapter 3. The next one will be the 3 departments of hierarchy. Just to give you a little sneaky peek. Well, that's where we start off there. Anybody wants to have a little look at that? And just pause the screen and you can see it, okay? That's a good one. Let's have a look, see how big it is, because that one has some very heavy information in it. I know it's not sort of like a beginner's book to be starting off on, but I'm hoping that most of you are keeping up with this. Like I said, any questions, feel free to email me at davidberry80@googlemail.com. That's googlemail.com, not gmail.com. That old. Any questions about anything, just feel free to email me, okay? I do get quite a few emails these days, probably through Wayne's channel, asking me questions and what have you. Okay, so the next chapter is lots of little quotes, little sound bites, so that one won't be too bad, okay? Won't be quite so long. Put that in there. It's now 3 o'clock in the morning, which is actually usually when I'm at my most alert and productive, but very tired eyes have been up since 5 o'clock this morning, as I usually do, usually at 5 o'clock in the morning for work. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. How many we got in? We got 14 in at the moment, which is not bad considering we'll be going an hour and a half, pretty much. I do appreciate each and every one of you coming to join me all the time, especially given it's not light-hearted entertainment, really, is it? It's kind of heavy in content. I did great. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you all. Hope everybody had a good time in chat. I'll go back later and have a little read through, make sure everybody had a good time. Thank you, Brian, as always. Red Honey, thank you. 7 p.m. there. Cool. I hope you have a nice evening, Red Honey. I'm sure there's something I wanted to say. Not regarding the book so much. I've had an idea for doing, I didn't really ever start my channel or any of this to make money. That wasn't my intent at all. It's great that I do get a payout every now and again from Google and what have you. But I've had a thought on doing some merch for t-shirts, Soul Tribe, just Soul Tribe, nothing fancy. So I'm getting some designs made up for those at the moment. My children have actually kind of helped me because I told them about it, and all 3 of them were straight drawing and what have you. So it might even be end up one of my 3 children's designs that end up going on the t-shirts. Obviously, when I do go down that route, I'll let you guys know. So if you would like to purchase them, and I'll make them as cheap as possible. I don't really want to make any money out of it. It's just so you guys can have something nice to wear. Be nice quality t-shirts with a good design on it, okay? Yeah, so it'll probably be t-shirts. Getting tired now, so I can't remember who mentioned it earlier. Somebody mentioned maybe bandanas as well. So yeah, we'll see how we go down that route. Like I said, I didn't really have a set intent to make money from this, but I do need to live as well, which is nice. I've had 2 donations so far from Chloe and Laurie from Pure Love Ascension. Thank you guys. That'll go towards the channel. Any money I do make, I'll reinvest in the channel. I do obviously work, so I've got money to live and survive where I usually. It's a bit hard this month because I've had to move into a flat and everything. So yeah, keep your eyes open for the t-shirts, guys. And also, don't forget Owl's cards. Our Soul Tribe decks of cards will be showcased soon on multiple channels, I would imagine. And by the look of quite a few of you in here, you're on the cards, so you're going to want a deck, aren't you? Thank you very much for joining me, Scott, sorry, Robinson. Good to see you. Chloe, I knew you. Chloe, I bet you're going to be the first one to order when I'm going. All right, I'm going to sign off now, guys, okay? Like I said before, check out my description for Ian Dawkins and Infinite Waters channels. 2 excellent channels for you to start watching if you're not already watching them, okay? Hi, Max G. Thanks for coming. Hi and bye. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me, okay? Love you all. Be the energy you want to receive. Just be kind to everybody you can. Love you all. See you soon, okay? I'll be back on live soon. Won't be tomorrow because I got my children over the weekend. So it'll probably be more like Monday or sometime next week, okay? Bye-bye, everyone.